Okay, cool. Do I really even need the mic? There's only like 6 of you in here. Yes. I will use the mic. Okay, I will give you the full experience. All right, so obviously y'all are here because you want to get into games journalism, right? All right, where's my clicker? Oh, Christian, you got me my clicker? Okay, can you click for me, darling? Okay, so that is me 2 years ago. Funny enough, that is actually at the first EagleCon. I had that done while I was in my writing for mass audience class from my friend Javier, who's actually downstairs right now. But hello, my name is Aiden Strahan. I'm a games journalist. I write about video games for a living, and I kind of have the coolest job on the planet. All right, so this is kind of my journey through the different publications I've been associated with in my time in the last 4 years that I have been a games journalist. So I got in journalism by accident in high school, and that's where the Killing Cougars are for. I was part of the Cougars Roar, and I was the editor-in-chief. Then from there, I went to another site that's actually no longer in existence, so I couldn't find its logo. But I worked for Pixelated View and Pixel Dynamo that first summer before college, and I freelanced with them for a while. They were just volunteer positions, and I'll get into that later. But then I worked with Eagle News when I got here, and I was their games writer. Eventually became an editor, and that blew up in flames. And then when I turned 19, literally on my 19th birthday, that weird guy hired me for Naples Herald for some reason, and I was a games reporter with him. And then eventually I was assigned to Lee Herald, which was the Lee chapter of Naples Herald, and I covered campus news and whatnot. I left them pretty recently, probably sometime in October, I would like to say, so I was with them for about 2.5 years. And I won a national award when I was there. It was super cool, actually on the piece that I wrote about EagleLand the first year, because I followed Michael and all of them as they were founding the event. And oh God, that story took me about 3 months to write. Because I came here during the event, did the coverage, and won the first ever College Kunkel Award. And I beat the shit out of Harvard. It was great. And then from there, this last summer, I was hired by GameSpot to be their weekend editor. So now I still work for them. I'm supposed to work today, but I didn't. But I write news stories for them every weekend, just on the culture, games that are coming out, DLC that's been released, updates, things like that. And shortly after, I started my internship at Paste Magazine. And I was the games intern there. And oh my God, I traveled the entire country this last summer. It was crazy. I went to E3. And I went to Bit Bash, and I went to DreamHack, and I went to MomoCon, and oh my God, it was insane. I had gone to just about every major city in the US in that summer alone. And within the last year, I have been to every major city. So much traveling. And in that summer, I was also up for a position with Rolling Stone's Glixel, which is their gaming website. And so I have a couple of bylines with them. I didn't get the position, but that's okay. Still got paid. And now I also work for IGN. I work for them part-time as well. And what I do for them is on the Snapchat team. So when you go into Snapchat Discover, all of the writing and all the assets, it's either written by me or accumulated by me. Then I send that off to our designers, who then send it off to my boss, me, and we upload it, and my boss does all the headlines and things like that. Super cool. It's a lot of fun. All right, yeah, click me. All right, so what exactly is games journalism? And I'll tell you, it's really easy, and I don't think you guys are ready for this. It's real journalism. Oh my God. And it's real journalism because we do follow the same principles as actual journalism. At least we're supposed to do that. Not everyone does that, but it reveals the truth. It talks about culture. It talks about people. It talks about this part of the world that has an element that needs to be revealed. And there are a lot of things in the industry that aren't so great. But there are also a lot of things in the industry that are really awesome. So, okay, I can't read that from here. Yes, what skills do you need to have to be a games journalist? All right, cool. This one's kind of animated, so you'll have to click me through. All right, well, first off, you need to be a journalist and not a blogger. There is a difference. Journalists are dedicated to the truth. Not yet, hun. Spoiler alert. Anyway, it is perfectly fine to be a blogger, and there is nothing wrong with that, and I absolutely 1000% admire the people who are able to do that, because, my God, I cannot do that content creation. Um, but to be a journalist, you need to have a dedication to the truth. And to be a blogger, you just need to know how to write, and write well. Okay, now the next one. Be an enthusiast, so be passionate about the industry, be passionate about the things that you're talking about. One, because the community hates you. And if you don't know what you're talking about, then why are you in it, you know? There's things that you're able to learn along the way, and I absolutely encourage that. But it's always better to have your heart in what you do. And if your heart's not in it, then why are you doing it, you know? Cool. So another thing is that you really need to be confident in your interviews when you're doing them, because the more confident you are, the more that you can say, like, yeah, I love this thing, I want to know more about it, tell me your story, the more you're going to get out of your sources, and the more powerful connections you're going to make. So I would say that you don't necessarily need these skills, but additional skills in photography or design or audio or video editing are really, really, really useful to games journalism, especially because we are so multimedia and we are digital first. So it's important to be able to sell yourself as a writer, for one, of course. But if you're able to say, like, oh, I can write and I can do this, that makes you even more sellable. Yes. Okay, so this one's really, really, really important, and I'm sure I don't have to reiterate this to any of you in the room. But know how to write about the games that you love and the ones that you don't love with respect. Because real people make these things. This is art that is done by people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And if you can't respect the developers, you're not respecting your audience. So a big thing about journalism, because we're in a really interesting time of journalism, is that you really need to have some sort of integrity or ethics. And I'm sure we all know about that scandalous 2014 event, which I won't say. But our generation of journalism will redefine what journalism actually is, because it is incredibly accessible now, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. And you need to know, because you will get into tricky situations even in this form of journalism, that aren't always going to be black and white. You're not always going to know what to do. You're going to have gray areas. You need to know how to make the right decision on your own. And sometimes you don't know, and it's okay to go to your editors and be like, hey, I'm in a pickle. But having some form of, okay, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to step back from this situation because of X, Y, Z, etc. All right, next one. Okay, this one's also a really big one. Have respect for others and their opinions, because there are definitely people that you are going to disagree with, and Twitter is an awful thing, and it's a cesspool of opinions that nobody agrees with. And knowing how to navigate that and keep your dignity about you is really important, because this is a very, very small industry. So be nice. All right, cool. So do these things. If you want to be a games journalist, do them, because they're great. So do get an education. You don't necessarily need to have an education to be a journalist at all. And the reason why I say that is because journalism is a trade. It is not necessarily something that you have to go to school for, like a medical degree. Anybody can learn how to write. Anybody can learn how to be a journalist. But education will give you more connections. It will give you better footing. It will give you a better idea of how to navigate those weird, tricky, gray area situations. And so I definitely recommend getting an education, 1000%. Okay? Do write all the freaking time. And I don't say that lightly. I write every single day of my life, even when I was with Naples Herald, and I was only writing a couple articles a week with them. Like, I was writing still every single day of my life, partly because of school, partly because of my job. And the only way you're ever going to be a better writer is if you continue to write, notice your mistakes, and fix them as you write. So even though it's your job to write about games, you won't always have the time to play games, but make sure that you make time to play games and notice the things that you like about them and learn how to talk about them. Because the better that you can talk about elements that you appreciate and that you enjoy, the more that you'll notice those little nuances in other games, and you'll be able to enjoy them too. And that will show in your writing. I wish I could read that from here. So do network. The easiest way to do that is through Twitter, even though it is awful. Oh my God, honey. Tell me about it. So the reason why I say to network is because it's an incredibly small industry. Even when I was at E3, I met the majority of people that I had met through Twitter, literally within like the first day. It was insane. Everybody knows each other. It's really small. It's really nice. It's close-knit, even with its problems. But do get to know people. Do be nice. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, I like your work. I think you're really cool. Because more often than not, you're going to make a connection out of it. Okay, so, and also, try to write styles of writing that are out of your comfort zone. So if you're a news writer, write more features. If you're a reviews writer, write more news. If you're an opinion writer, write something a little bit more factual. Write like a really deep investigative report. Do things that challenge you and push you out of that comfort zone, which you already know. Okay, this one's also super important, and every writer, even if you're not in games writing, you need to have this, and that is to know your value and to know what your voice has to offer, because your voice is unique, and your opinions are unique, and your thoughts are unique. And when you're pitching and you're throwing ideas out there to editors and you're wanting to get a story, you need to be able to sell that. And you need to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm worth. This is why I'm the right person to do this story. This is why no one else can do this, and you're going to want me to do it. And that's really important to have. That's not being narcissistic. That's not being rude. That's just knowing your value. And that's an important thing to have. So the other thing is, too, this is also super important. Know the not-so-great parts of the industry and be sensitive to them. And the biggest reason behind that is because there are still so many problems in this industry. I am lucky in the sense that I don't have to face a lot of them. A gigantic portion of my audience doesn't even know I'm female, and that's because of my name. And so I have that protection that a lot of my colleagues do not. I'm also never on camera. I'm always behind a byline, and so nobody ever gets to see my face unless they look into me and my work. And this industry is not very inclusive of women or people of color or LGBTQ+ identifying individuals. And that's a problem. You know, it's getting better. Change is coming. But understand that if you are not part of those marginalized communities, then you need to not be a jerk about them. You need to understand, like, oh, this is this person's struggle, essentially. All right. This is the biggest don't in the world. And for the exact same reasons that I've been talking about this whole time, the biggest don't is don't be a jerk. Do not be a jerk, because this industry is so small, people will know it immediately, and everybody will know you as, oh my God, that person is such a jerk. Don't talk to them. They're rude. I don't like them. Oh my God, I can't stand them. There are literally people that I have been told to avoid, and I avoid them because I've been told that they're a jerk. So don't do it. All right, and I think there's one more don't. Okay, this one's also super important. Everything I'm saying is super important. Wow, I can't believe myself. But this one is really huge, because if you want to make a living off of this, you cannot work for free. Ever. No, don't think of exposure. Do not think of exposure. That is the most crappiest excuse to do anything.
Free advertising for your portfolio.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I know you're not. But it's not free advertising for your portfolio. It's manipulation, and it's not cool. And publications should not do that to you. It goes back to knowing your value and knowing what you're worth and knowing what your voice has to offer. And it's not good to work for free, especially if this is what you want your career to be, because you cannot make a living off anything if you're not getting paid. Okay. So, on that note, how do you make money? In my experience, I think it's the next slide. It's freelancing. And despite the name, it doesn't mean working for free. So what exactly is freelancing? This one's animated too. Yep. So freelancing is the act of contract work, essentially. You work for a publication and you're not part-time, but you're not full-time. You're just kind of like off to the side, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's not a bad thing. But it is a way to make money in which taxes are not removed from your paychecks as you get them. And it's also a way to just have a bunch of side jobs all at once, depending on your contracts. Some contracts have non-competes. Don't ever sign those. Because you need to be able to have multiple streams of income. And freelancing allows you to do that. And freelancing also allows you to set your own schedule and your own hours. And it's really cool when you're a student because you're swamped with homework. You can just do your assignments the next day. I think there's more to those. Okay, so why does freelancing exist? Well, companies can't always afford to have a full-time staff or a full part-time staff. And so freelancers exist to do extraneous projects that they wouldn't normally be able to afford with a full-time or part-time staff. And so they're really important and really cool. And sometimes they just serve to be substitute writers. Sometimes they serve to fill in the gaps when somebody has left, or to bring in a more diverse cast of voices, I guess is the best way to put it. Right? There may be one more to this. Freelancing also exists because of Twitter. Twitter is your ultimate tool, especially as a journalist, because one, it's a huge source for news, but also it's a place where lots and lots of companies will post all of their freelancing calls. So like Polygon and Kotaku and Crunchyroll and all of them, they usually post like, hey, we're looking for writers. Email us at this. You know, so it exists because of Twitter. All right, so pros of freelancing. You can work from literally anywhere, and I mean that. Last Saturday, I was getting a tattoo and working. You can literally work from anywhere. Nick was actually with me. Yep, exactly, right? There's more pros to this, I promise. And you can set your own hours, as I mentioned before. I'm a student, I go to school full-time, and I also freelance full-time. But the nice thing about that is that I can work at like 6 in the morning, or I can work at like midnight, or I can work at like 2 in the afternoon. I can do whatever I need to do to work around my school schedule, which is awesome. You can't do that with a normal part-time job. And then the other nice thing is that if you really like to be creative and you like to do your own thing, most of the time you can come up with your own assignments. When I was working for Robbie, for instance, I came up with like 95% of the news stories that I wrote. I found them on my own, which is really cool because that gives you a lot of freedom and a lot of agency over what you're doing. And you can write about the things that you really, truly care about. Okay, one more pro. And it teaches you a lot about working on your own, working with teams, working with editors, working with your own time management, staying organized, and producing content on time. It will definitely teach you a lot about that because it just kind of throws you in the water and is like, okay, you got to do this thing, so do it. And you got to figure that out on your own because there's nobody there to hold your hand. Okay, so the cons. Why wouldn't you want to be a freelancer? Taxes suck. And that's what it says, right? Okay, good. Oh, honey, I'm not done yet. I got to rant about this for a minute. So the taxes part is the worst simply because you're working with 1099s. And you cannot file those like you would file a W-2. And so you have to buy the $100 program. And you have to put in all the money that you made for the year. And then it takes out all of the taxes that it should have taken out from your normal paychecks that would usually happen with a W-2. So normally your taxes are ridiculously expensive at the end of the year and you should file them quarterly. Um, so the other like really crappy part about being a freelancer is that your income will vary month to month, depending on the assignments that you have. So if you have a really good month, you'll make bank. But if you have a really bad month of pitching or you're not feeling well, you don't have any paid time off. You don't have any insurance. You don't have any sort of backup plan normally. And if you're not working, you're not making money. And so month to month, that can be really scary. And so if you're not like, okay, this is how much I need to do this month, this is how much I can do to have a little bit extra, then it's terrifying, to be honest with you. Finances are hard, and freelancing makes them even harder. All right, on that note, as a freelancer, you have no benefits. You do not get insurance from working with your company. You do not get paid time off. You do not get paid holidays. And the reality is kind of jippy, but at the same time, you're also not being fully employed by this company. You're just a stringer. You know, you're there to fill in the gaps. And so that's kind of a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. And then it can be kind of lonely. Because most of the time you work from home, you know, you're working from wherever you're at, and sometimes you don't really have anyone there to talk to. You don't have anybody to bounce up ideas with. And that can really be awful sometimes. All right, so now it's the AMA. Ask me anything except about Gamergate. Please don't ask me about Gamergate. What's up?
First, very quick anecdote. Back in 2014, when that was happening, I remember that they gave out little pumpkin signs to everyone on the floor of honors at my building, and they were like, "Oh, design your own pumpkin." I'm like, I posted on Facebook. I was like, I had to write like the scariest possible thing I could think of, and I wrote #Gamergate on my pumpkin.
I don't think you understand how much I hate you for that.
No, it was not done out of respect. It was done out of a loathing and poking fun of.
Oh, no, I know.
I know.
But also I hate you.
If no one has any questions, Ashley did have.
Yeah, what's up?
First off, for freelancing and stuff, if you've never had anything professionally published or have approached anyone about that sort of thing, what's like the best way to start?
Just do it.
Well, I mean,
No, I literally mean that. I literally mean that. Maybe write a couple of pieces on your own to just have as samples to show like, hey, this is my writing style. But when you're pitching an editor, be like, hey, you know what? I'm really confident in this idea. I really want to do this. I hope that you'll give me a chance. This is some writing that I have on hand to show you. It's not been published, but this is what I'm capable of doing. Be confident in it. Don't tell them that you're their first time writer.
don't publish it, but write a comprehensive portfolio you're proud of, and then go to an editor and be like, look, I made this.
Yeah, I mean, you can publish it. I would encourage you to publish it. But if you're not comfortable publishing it, then be honest with that. Like, hey, it's not published, but this is what I can do, and I wanna do this for you. And sometimes you'll get a yes, sometimes you'll get a no. A lot of the time you'll get no's. But shop around your ideas.
Now, you said don't talk about gaming, so I'm not going to talk about that.
Don't talk about gaming it.
A year ago, there was a certain popular YouTuber that made roughly a 6-minute video around the time of Crash Bandicoot coming out.
Oh boy.
You know the video, don't you?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Video donkus.
Oh, yep, Yes, I remember.
I don't know if you had opinions about that video. Because some critics
Um,
and a lot were very cross about his blunder.
Honestly, YouTubers and traditional games journalists I would separate them. Some of them do market themselves as journalists, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, I would slightly disagree in some cases, just because they aren't necessarily dedicated to the same sort of authenticity and accuracy that journalists are. And that's not to say that all of them are like that. I mean, I definitely don't want to bash anybody. And so I'm not going to say names for that reason. But I don't really necessarily have any opinions about that specific video, just because it's a waste of my time. But I would say that if you are trying to be a journalist and trying to be a true journalist and propel the industry to a better place, avoid that kind of presentation. What's up?
So, you probably remember this better than me, but how would you pitch this section of journalism to like a magazine, a newspaper, or a website that doesn't have any of this type of news?
Just do it. I mean, think about how I pitched it to you.
That's what I'm asking. I don't recall exactly.
Yeah, so when I was with Robbie, I sat with him in person. And I remember I was like, hey, so I really like to write about video games. I think this is a cool thing. I really love the culture. I love the people. I love doing this and that. And I think that it would make a really good addition to what you have to offer. And this is what I want to do. And I hope that you like those ideas. And that's basically all you have to do. You know, and some people will buy it, like you. Hey, you know what? I'm charming. Maybe that was it. But just be passionate about what you care about and really be enthusiastic about what you want to do. You know, don't shy away from it. Be confident and sell your ideas. That's the best way I can put it. What's up, Nick? Learn how to use Twitter. And the reason why I say that is because so many more eyes are on Twitter, and a lot more eyes that are looking for news, that are looking for games-related writing are on Twitter. And obviously there are people on Facebook who are looking for that too, but Facebook tends to be a little bit more clunky, whereas Twitter's algorithms kind of just throw everything at you all at once. And so when people are scanning through and they see something catches their eye, they're going to look at it. Whereas Facebook, it can be a little bit harder to get to. Social media presence is everything. If you're really wanting to sell your writing and get your name out there, you are going to have to self-promote, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck, and you're not going to like it, but you have to do it. And also getting to know the right people at the right time helps. Going to events and networking, talking on Twitter, letting the writers that you admire know that you admire them. That's another big part of it. It's beneficial in the sense that it always has something for me to look back at. Because if I want to show an editor something, all I have to do is link them to that, and I can just search up the story I want to show them and throw the direct link at them. So it's really nice for that. But it's also nice because I have mine set up on Tumblr, so it has social media built into it. And I occasionally do get people who are like really attached to certain stories that I do. And so they'll get a lot of attention that way. But sometimes it's not exactly beneficial because it's not driving a lot of traffic to my stories. But that's also not why I have the portfolio there. You know, it's there to exist as a record of everything that I've done. And as a record of like, hey, I did this thing. I want you to look at it here. And it's easy to pull up. Anything else? That it? Do you have any questions? That depends on your opinions and how you want your work to be presented. If you're really wanting to write something that's like super investigative or controversial or really in depth, I would say write for Waypoint or for Kotaku or for Polygon because those are really big publications that focus on like hardcore features. But if you're looking to do more like newsy things, I would pitch to GameSpot or to IGN. If you're looking to do more like review stuff, I would pitch to GameSpot or IGN because they're more entertainment-based platforms. You just kind of have to be aware of what the publications you're pitching to offer and how exactly you feel your writing would suit them the best. Does that make sense? All right, cool. I think we're done. Oh, wait, one more? Oof. Oof. Okay. Kotaku, obviously, because I am absolutely obsessed with Cecilia Donacio. She is one of the best in the industry, and I admire her so much. And of course, I read Paste really, really often, because one, I worked with them, and also I'm absolutely in love with Holly Green, my old editor. She is really special to me because she showed me my worth. And
Oh God, what's the other one? Well, I read all of them pretty much almost consistently, I would say. I definitely go to GameSpot pretty often because I work there. I look at IGN because I work there. But I also really enjoy Polygon and the reporting that they've done. They actually, within this last year, did a huge, like, 12-part series on gaming in Cuba. It was intense. It's a really, really great series, and just beautifully done and beautifully presented. And I think everybody has a little something unique to offer. If you really are looking for, like, off the rails kind of like weird writing, I would go to Waypoint. Because they have a really, really interesting, diverse um, set of writers. So, yeah. Anything else? Still an AMA. You can ask me dumb questions too. So do I.
You ever read like the gaming sections on sites like Cracked or the AV Club?
Don't read the comments.
I never do.
So clearly no. What? Oh God, that's a terrible question. God of War. God of War. God of War. Everything is God of War. Um. So. Hello, fellow gamers. One that's kind of obscure that I don't think most people have heard of is probably Hand of Fate. Hand of Fate is so good. Yeah, it's like D&D, but like card form and like board game all at the same time. Yes, I've actually been playing the second one recently. It's good. It's real good. Well, it's not really a grindy game. Oh yeah. It's interesting because I feel like it's one of those games that I can just pick up and play whenever I want to, just to like zone out and like get immersed into this world. Um, yeah. It's on Xbox, I know for sure, because that's what I play it on. But I think it's also on PS4, maybe. It might be an exclusive, I'm not sure. But, oh God, who's it by? I can't think of the developer name. I hate myself right now. Oh, it's on Steam? Okay, great. Yeah, it's awesome. I really enjoy it, especially like if you're really into D&D and D and like high fantasy and yeah, it's real good. Anything else? More dumb questions, please throw them at me. Yes. Who hasn't played that though?
Team Fortress 2 is like the granddad. Well, actually, I'd say the granddad is Counter-Strike Source, but is like the granddad of the modern team-based.
What was that? Granddad.
Granddad.
I love you. It's a pretty awesome game. It's goofy. Oh God. The first one you come up with is Brink, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it actually is pretty old. Oh my God.
Of Overwatch has TF2 in his top 10 games of all time. He's played a lot. And
Valve has a lot of really, really good games.
even today, and I think there's just some magic that has not been recaptured. I don't know what it is.
That seems to happen with a lot of Valve games, though.
I have over 1,000 hours in it.
Oh my God, honey. Honey.
I've been playing for 7 years. I've been playing since 2010. Before the very first major Halloween event.
Oh boy.
No, first major Christmas event. I came for the second Halloween event. And it's just been a blast. And I think one of the big things is that the player culture is so just casual. It's filled
Yeah.
with people who are veterans and people who are new to the game and learning from people who are veterans. And it's just, I don't think I've met a nicer online community, which is
That's really, really rare. Cherish that. Protect it.
You're gonna find some hackers. VAC is not perfect. Valve anti-cheat has never been perfect. It will let people suffer. You will find people who have horrible bind spams with some very choice language. But in the midst of all that, they're the minority. They're just loud because you can see them every couple games or so. But everyone else is like, just stop. It's just there's a general welcoming atmosphere.
I wish League would take a note from that.
I would talk to you so much more, but I could go on for too long about this sort of topic.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Why do you think I do what I do?
If I was to become a journalist and write an article and like want to peddle it to a publisher, the first thing I do is like warmth and like emotion in gaming communities and how that develops over time.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is if I promise, there's like a 50% chance I'll either forget or just so I can't.
Hound him. That's what you gotta do. So, hey, what are we? That's literally what it is. I just want to follow up. Yeah, no, that's the freelancer. What are we? No, that's fine. Does anyone else want to talk? Nick. Not my old stuff. Okay, I know that feeling so hard. I look back at my award-winning piece, and I wrote that when I was 19, and I just cringe every time.
The more like sad.
And I was like, I know I shouldn't like delete these because it's nice to go back and see like what I did wrong and like how much like I actually learned.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes
Oh, yeah, no, I totally understand. So here's what I'll say to your question to answer it. I will not read your stuff to make sure it is okay. I will read your stuff to support you because I appreciate you as a writer. I'm not here to be a gatekeeper on what's good and what's bad. I mean, if I see something that you messed up, yeah, I'll tell you. You know, but it's not for that reason. It's because I want you to succeed because you're my friend and I care about you and we're in the same industry. And the only way you're going to succeed is if people point out your mistakes too. So, warm and fuzzies. Okay, we done? We done.